Welcome back to another Valley Sports Plug Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Patrick. It's December 8th, 2022, and boy, am I glad to be back, man. It's been a little bit since we've done one of these live streams. I can't even remember. We've been putting out other content, though, so make sure you're following us at AZ_Valley Sports. I do this every time, man. I do this every time. At AZ_VSP. You can see it right down there. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Of course, you're here on YouTube, Valley Sports Plug. So you found us. You know you can do it. Anyway, let's get right into it. Today, Michael Benjamin will be joining us shortly. As you know, Mr. VSP Tallman couldn't make it, but I got some of our very lovely Valley Sports Plug contributors with us here today. So first, give a warm welcome to Mr. Ben Miller. How are you doing, sir?
Live from Las Vegas.
That's right. Normally from Texas, but out in Viva Las Vegas, which puts him an hour behind us. Have you won anything yet?
No. Oh. I tried to bet on some the ASU basketball game, but the link I was sent to download a sportsbook app was for Arizona sportsbooks, not for Vegas sportsbooks.
But you could have just walked down to the sportsbook.
No, this is when I had the flu. Well, in Vegas with the flu, so unable to leave my hotel room to go down and actually gamble.
Fair enough. You should have called like room service, had them send a bellboy up, be like, "Hey, go place this bet for me, bring the ticket back."
You know, I don't know why I didn't do that. That would have been amazing.
You got to reach out to your degenerate gambling friends in these situations, because where there's a will, there's always a way.
Here's the thing: I did reach out to some degenerate gamblers. They just happen to be family.
Oh well, that'll happen. Well, Ben, also with us today, we have Ian Needs a PG. I assume that's point guard and not Paul George. Is that right?
No, yeah, it's point guard. I need anybody got a point guard I can have in fantasy basketball?
Oh, in fantasy basketball. For a second, I thought you were talking about for the Brooklyn Nets. You have a pretty good point guard in Brooklyn right now.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't replace Kyrie Irving. That's hard as hell.
Yeah, that is a hard replacement. What's your situation in fantasy basketball though? Why do you need a new point guard?
I have like 4 injured point guards. I have Luka Doncic, and then I think Mike Conley just came back, and I think those are my only 2 point guards.
Rough. Mike Conley is like 45, isn't he?
Yeah, I picked him up because 3 other point guards were injured. He was like a desperation pickup.
I almost sent Mike a screenshot today. It's one of the 2 leagues we're in. Like all my entire bench is game time decision or injured right now.
That's insane.
Brutal. And it's like, it's guys, when you look at them, it's like they're good when they're healthy, but so you don't want to, drop them to get another guy. But it's starting to get to a point where I'm like, I need people who can play. But
it's exactly where I'm at too. Like, I don't want to drop LeBron, but like he's game time decision every goddamn game. So
right. I don't want to give away too many of my secrets to you, Ian, but that's kind of been my strategy the past couple of years, is not getting those old banged up guys that are only going to play 40 games in a season. The Chris Pauls, the LeBrons.
I hear you, but he was like my 3rd pick.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, he fell this far. Okay.
It's tempting. Yeah. Okay. At that point, that's fine. Yeah. Because he'll still have a couple, a handful of games in the season where he can see like 80 fantasy points. He's putting up like 40 actual points, almost getting a triple double.
Yeah, for sure. He can get a triple double on any given night, but he's sitting the next game. That's pretty much where he's at.
Exactly. So when you look at a whole week, it's not quite going to help you as much as the individual performance. I don't know, getting too much into the weeds with that, but wow, what do we got going on? What we got for topics? I think I saw we were going to talk about the Phoenix Suns, of course. Ian was kind of saving some of his takes, so I'm going to be curious to see what he has to say. Ben, while we have you, you are our resident ASU expert, so I need to know what's happening down in Tempe.
After a season that was probably the worst season record-wise in the 21st century. We went 3-9, I believe, and lost to that school down south. We have a new head coach, and this time it is not a head coach that is a former where his former agent is now the athletic director, and he is 75 years old, almost 80 years old, and decides like, you know what? I never need to read an NCAA rulebook or connect with college kids. I was on TV.
Wait. Sorry. I want to hear the rest of this, but you're telling me that, what is it, Ray? What's the athletic director's name?
Ray Anderson.
Ray Anderson was Herm Edwards' agent?
Yes.
How did I never hear about this? Okay, go on. This is why we love you, Ben.
And now things are starting to come together.
Yes.
Where Ray Anderson, by the way, the second highest paid athletic director in the entire country. More than Alabama's, more than Tennessee's, more than almost every other school.
Where are those national championships to garner that?
Listen, underwater basket weaving is still an Olympic sport, no matter what the IOC says. But we have a new head football coach. Herm was fired after Game 3. We lost to Eastern Michigan University in embarrassing fashion in Tempe. And Sean Aguano, former Chandler High coach, took over the reins as an interim head coach, going 2-6, 2-7 for the rest of the season. But we now have, he did not make the full hire, but we have Kenny Dillingham, who is now the youngest head football coach in the entire FCS.
How old is
32 years old. He is this year he was the OC, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, with the number 8 offense in the entire country, and has credentials from Auburn, Florida State, and Memphis, as well as being born and bred from the Valley, playing QB at Chaparral, and eventually going to ASU and being a graduate assistant on staff there under Todd Graham. So we are starting to see something that we have not seen for many, many years in ASU football, and that is hope. And someone who's willing to say, I'm going to stake my flag here in the Valley. We're going to keep top talent here in the Valley, and we're going to bring back anyone who left to go to a different situation and rep that hometown pride.
I love that, because that was the biggest thing, right? And I remember you telling us that when they were searching for a new head coach, is that you wanted a guy that could really tap into the local talent and retain them here in the Valley, rather than going to California, Texas, Oklahoma schools, Oregon schools, you name it. So that's really important. That's huge. I mean, of course, I texted you as soon as the news broke, and it was like, is this good? Is this a good thing? And I checked out his resume. It is pretty impressive how quickly he moved up the ranks from like high school quarterback coach to being on a college team, and then going to all these other teams, just climbing the ladder the whole time. So it just tells me this is a highly motivated guy who really has his mindset and his heart set out on what he wants to do. So that's all really, really exciting, and room for optimism, obviously. What if anything, though, I wonder, is there still anything going on in the background with like the recruitment violations or any shit that's carrying over from the Edwards era?
It's funny you should ask that. Yes, so there is still a cloud hanging over the program. We are expecting a formal letter of allegations from the NCAA as to the results of their investigation. Then we'll have time to respond to that too. But the main thing is having a new head coach and basically entirely new coaching staff that was not under Edwards, along with having lost 95% of our roster to the transfer portal before the season, and then all of our anyone that we had left is starting to leave and trickle out now. We're going to be in a much better place to be like, why are you going to punish this brand new head coach, this brand new team, when we have complied with your allegations so far? So we're still waiting to see exactly what that's going to be. But based on what you've seen happen with the NCAA and their rule arbitration process in basketball, where you see Louisville just got hit with only a $5,000 fine and the loss of one scholarship for their basketball program, they had things happening under their watch, such as, what was it? Strippers being booked for the hotel rooms of potential prospects, and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be a whole nothing burger coming out of it, but we'll see. Usually when you comply with the NCAA, that's when they're like, haha, you gave us evidence. Gotcha.
Gotcha, bitch. So yeah, I'll be very curious. I think it's possible slap on the wrist, especially it seems like Ray Anderson got maybe some pull. I don't know, but no, maybe not. I don't know.
Not with the NCAA.
Okay, not with the NCAA. I see. I'm talking out my ass now. But I saw just right before we launched this live stream that speaking of like this transfer portal, I've noticed all the notifications of guys entering. Emory Jones is now in the transfer portal. Is that a loss for us? Do we care?
This is the guy who came in from Florida after losing his job there to, I believe, a new recruit or a different transfer. But he came in, he started the season, and then was benched the rest of the season for.
Ian, did he freeze?
Yeah, he
He
froze.
came in being
Oh,
like,
he's
I'm
back.
gonna come in with Coach Herm and do all this. So we're gonna see a lot of transition in this roster, especially as we bring a new coach in. He brings in some of his guys, and we lose the guys that may have been promised different things by previous coaches as well.
Okay.
But
Right on.
as we see right now, we are in for a wild 45 days of the transfer portal. So on Monday was the first day of the first session of the transfer portal. Players can enter their names to be to transfer for the next 45 days and then have another opportunity at the end of next year's academic term for the school year. So this is to put some sort of time limits around it because last year it was the Wild West and you had people dropping out and transferring schools up until the last second. So this is to try to rein in that and have a little bit more formality. But of the 4 transfers that we already have, as last time I checked, which was this morning, every single one of them is a former Valley football player coming from BYU, different schools all across the country, coming back to the Valley as well.
That's good. So you're saying, if I'm following right, that people that transferred out previously are coming back
It's looking not from the program, but from that may have
from the
gone as a
state.
freshman from the state.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's good news. That's right in line with keeping the homegrown talent here. We're gonna keep tabs on the football program, Ben. I expect you to stay up to date with everything going on. But I also am curious. You said ASU basketball has started 9-1.
As of last night, when we beat the living, can I curse here?
Oh yeah.
We beat the living shit out of SMU, which I'm disappointed because I'm in Las Vegas right now. The Sun Devils play a ranked Creighton team here in Vegas on Monday, but we played SMU in Dallas yesterday. So I'm getting to miss both of those as I'm traveling back and forth.
Oh, that's sad.
But truly, this is giving me like there was a few years ago when we had Remy Martin on the Sun Devils where we were a consistent tournament team. Like we may have been making the last 4 in and the play-in bracket, but Bobby Hurley had teams that were scrappy and able to at least make the tournament. This year is a return to that. We have jumped past the 5-star game of trying to get the biggest names and the biggest talent that has the most strings attached to them playing. And you have a bunch of guys right now who are grinders. They had over 15 turnovers that they forced on SMU last night. And It was insane to watch. You see them running, playing fast, vigorous basketball, defending, which in a 4-guard lineup is so interesting to see as well, and really shutting it down for these other teams. So they are really fun to watch. It is messy, but it is the kind of stuff that you watch and you're like, wow, these guys, they're going to learn so much from one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college basketball point guard of all time.
Nice. I can't wait to see ASU back in the tournament. I've been needing this in my life. And I know we talked about it, I think, on a past roundtable even, about how much I lack faith in Bobby Hurley, but I'm willing to give him another chance. Ian, speaking of the tournament, it's about 3 months away now, the national tournament for basketball.
Yes, sir.
I know we always done brackets and like that. What is being from New York, do you have a team that you like, or how is your fandom for college basketball?
Where I grew up in New York, I don't know what the college team is. Like I genuinely have no clue what I know there was some people that were UConn fans because we were like 45 minutes away from New Haven, but speaking in terms of in the borders of New York State, I have no idea what the college teams are. It's really weird. I know St. John's is popular. Rutgers, but they're technically New Jersey, and I think they suck at basketball if they even play. They're more of a football team. And I think the closest one for football would be Army, but no one's really considering that like a home team. That's more like if you're enlisted, like serving, you watch Army, but I don't know a lot of other people that are just private doing that. I have no idea. I'm not going to lie.
I think Iona is in New York.
They are. Yeah, they're on Long Island, right?
Coached by Rick Pitino, former Louisville and national champion head coach. You got Buffalo in.
I was going to say Buffalo, yeah.
Yes,
that's way up north, though.
Yeah, Buffalo is about 6 hours away from where I grew up, so not invalid, but I'm a moron. Syracuse.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, that would be my first thought. Would be Syracuse. Like NYU isn't known for athletics at all, are they?
I don't think they have teams.
I don't think they
don't.
Do
They're like smack in the middle of Manhattan. I don't think they can fit an arena anywhere down there.
That'd be dope if they just played their football games in Madison Square Garden somehow.
That'd be cool, like arena football.
Right.
What is it? You name a Catholic university, and it's like, all right, is it in New York City or is it in Philadelphia? You pick.
I had to get this off my chest. This has really not much to do with what we're talking about, other than talking about cities. Did you know that like the Chicago metro area is broken up into is exactly 77 different cities within the Chicago metro area? For my job, I was looking at calling all these people within the Chicago area, and I just kept noticing all these different city names, and I'd be like, oh, where's that? And it'd be like, oh, it's Chicago. Oh, where's that one? Edgerton. Where's Edgerton? I don't even think that's one in Chicago, but I had to Google it. 77. It's like New York's got it right. What is it? In New York City, there's like 5 boroughs. I get there's other cities, but it's like in the metro area, there's 5 boroughs, and it's like you got it. I get there's like the neighborhoods, right? But like your street address isn't going to be like Bedford, Bed-Stuy. Was it Bed-Stuys?
Yeah, Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Hell's Kitchen.
New York is like the 5 boroughs that those are all part of the city, and then outside of the city is, you have smaller cities. I guess the suburbs would be like Westchester, parts of New Jersey, stuff like that. But what I always found weird about Chicago is when I meet someone from Chicago, or Illinois, I should say, when I meet someone from Illinois and I ask them what part of Illinois, they say Chicago every single time, even though distance-wise they could be 2 hours away from Chicago. That's not a thing in New York. I don't know why. Yeah, it's Chicago's. Illinois is weird like that, though. I don't know if it's the sprawl or what, but like, yeah, I definitely
that would make sense.
Where you're coming from with that.
But like in your case, no, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say I think it's kind of like here where like you guys are both from Chandler. I think if you left the state, instead of explaining what Chandler is, to save time, you could easily just be like, I'm from Phoenix, and just leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that old American Dad scene with Roger by the pool where he's like, I had a storage locker out in Mesa. Well, it's outside of Phoenix, but it's Phoenix. My storage locker's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's even easier when you say, oh no, I'm from Tempe.
Yeah, Tempe. There you go. That's another one. Yeah. When the people can pronounce it right. I remember a couple years ago, me and Michael Benjamin were at a concert, and this guy kept saying Tempe, and now I got to ask him, Mike, do you remember that concert? You're muted.
Hey, Tempe. It's like, is Tempe in the house? And everybody was like, it's Tempe, you asshole.
He's not lying.
Hey, that was a good concert though. That was when Logic was here, and I think the guy's name was Quest. If I am I right on that, Chris? I think it was Quest.
At the time, it was Quest, and last I knew, it was Sylvan LeCue.
Oh goodness. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently,
that's a tribe with him.
Did he have what?
Did he have a tribe?
Maybe.
Get it? A tribe called Quest.
I get it. Thank you.
Cool.
What's good, boys? What's going on?
Yo.
I know I kind of strayed from the title a bit to kind of wait up for you. So we just had Ben breaking down everything going on with ASU. So you'll have to go back and hear his insight on the game. We got a new coach, Mike. Did you hear about Kenny Dillingham?
Dilly dilly, baby, dilly dilly. Are you
You
gonna
guys-
make a shirt? You're gonna make a shirt, Ben?
No, I might buy one of the shirts, but no, I have not made a shirt yet. I think that's you guys. It's a brand move.
It's not a bad idea.
There you go.
I just got to drop some spoilers real quick. A little teaser, maybe. Valley Sports Plug might be getting a new official logo very soon. Nice, shiny, professional-looking logo. So, a little spoiler for those watching. But let's get into the show now. We've been hearing a lot from Ben, so I want to know what's up with Ian and Mike. And the breaking news today, of course, was Brittany Griner being freed from her detention in Russia in a 1-for-1 prisoner swap with Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death. Will be going back to Russia. It broke on ESPN like the trade deal. Joe Biden is the best GM in the history of America, and he brokered this deal to bring BG home. Mike, what was your reaction to this news?
That's pretty good. Put it on the ESPN ticker. It already was there. I mean, happy she's back. You get mixed emotions because I know we've been seeing this other thing with this other gentleman who's a Marine. What's his name? Somebody's got to help me here.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't remember his name. That's such a problem. I should know this dude's name.
but then you start to get into the
Paul
political
Whelan.
views and I don't want to go that route. I just am thankful that somebody is able to come home who in the States would not be detained for that kind of stuff anymore, right? You go back to when we were kids, though. I'm pretty sure we've had some of our own friends who have gotten locked up or gotten some tickets in regards to possession. But there's a bigger overview that you can have in regards to this conversation. But for Brittany Griner being a Valley athlete, happy to have her back. I mean, good Lord, the Mercury could have used her last year. That's for damn sure. So hopefully she'll take her time to get back in rhythm. But, always good to have people back on American soil, I guess. So that's really all I have to say about it. I'm sure you guys have plenty more.
No, I think honestly, I think my feelings are similar. And to your point, like I was mentioning, I think the Marine's name is Paul Whelan. I just looked it up. I saw a couple of articles today that they was a statement made by his family or his parents at least, where they basically said that it was the best of a bad situation, that they were only ever going to release Griner, that this Paul guy was never on the table as part of this prisoner exchange. So they were just glad that we were able to at least get someone back. So hearing that sentiment from his family, while probably not what they were hoping for, it is kind of, encouraging in a way. And I kind of share that sentiment, like good to get something and glad to have Brittany Griner home, of course, especially with the Valley ties. Ian, did you kind of share those similar sentiments, or do you have any immediate thoughts on it?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Like, I wanted Brittany Griner home. I'm glad we didn't really spare an expense with getting her back. It's terrible that Marine is still there, Paul Whelan. I hope the effort doesn't slow down to get him back. I hope that, that's still something that we work towards, but in a vacuum with Brittany Griner being back, that's awesome. I'm glad it's not a situation where she's there for years and years,
Right, especially considering she was facing like 10 years in a maximum security prison in the middle of nowhere, Russia. I mean, Ben, I got to ask you, are you planning on taking less than a gram of concentrated marijuana to Russia anytime soon?
I don't plan on traveling to that location anytime soon. But I think, I think the sentiment, especially the press release that the Phoenix Mercury did in collaboration with the Suns, announcing this, it is always good to see someone come home and see that diplomatic process play out. And obviously, there is not really a good situation besides repatriating everyone who is unfairly or unjustly locked up abroad. And that just shows that we have such a good and robust network of legal system and freedoms here that we can take for granted, but especially when we travel abroad and see people in different situations, and that's not always the case. And so just happy to see that someone is coming back home.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
and
So
that's definitely a big
No.
like overview thing too, right? Like, sorry, Chris.
no, you're good. Take it.
There was wrong ways and there was right ways about this entire situation, right? I'm sorry, but Brittany Griner, you should have known better than taking any kind of substance into an airport in a foreign country. Like, start right there, right? And then it's tough when you're talking about trading this guy who has the nickname of the Merchant of Death, who, you know, was making weapons and is putting other American lives at possible, you know, risk. But at the grand scheme of things, we got them back. And like Ben said, the legal system worked itself out. I don't think anybody is ever going to win this type of situation completely, but you have to take the small victories when you get them. And I know that this was such a big, strong movement, specifically through the NBA and WNBA, that it's good to find some resolution in any way that you can find it. So just glad that she's back. I wonder if she's landed, and I wonder, did she come back to Phoenix or did she go somewhere like back home or anything like that? Or
I haven't heard. I thought I saw that she was on a plane, so at least on her way back. I'd imagine if she was on a plane at like whatever it was 6 this morning, that she's got to be home by now. How long is the flight from Russia?
that's a good question.
Well, I also wonder how that worked. Like, because I imagine she probably flew to somewhere in Europe and then was gonna fly back. Like, go to the embassy and Ben, you're muted.
Oh, the exchange happened in the UAE.
Oh, interesting.
I saw a video of that exchange, and you see, you know, Warlord, Death Merchant, and Brittany Griner pass each other. And
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a more awkward, you know, session of eye contact that a human being can have in the world than like that exchange right there, just being like, "Hey, sup," as you pass each other, going back to your respective countries after being locked up abroad. That's just a strange predicament to be in.
Do we know how long the merchant guy was locked up for?
I don't. I know there was a movie that was made about him like 12 years ago. So we've known about the guy for a long time.
And that movie was War Dogs.
Was it War Dogs?
With Jonah Hill and why am I going to say Channing Tatum? That's not it.
No, you're thinking Miles
21
Teller.
Jump Street. Miles Teller. Good old
Yeah.
Miles Teller.
I thought it was
I'm
Lord
just
of
kidding.
War.
That's not. Yeah, that's not. Not the movie. Lord of War probably
is the Nick Cage movie, and I think that's the one that it's based off of.
That sounds right.
I also saw, I didn't know this or remember this, but I guess Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, his nickname was the Merchant of Death in all the Marvel movies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It kind of
Because
checks out. That was what
was
Stark
like a
Industries
movie.
was, right?
Yeah,
They made weapons.
Like missile manufacturing, yeah. Mass weapons.
Insane. But anyway, enough about Brittany Griner. I'm sure if you type her name into Google, you can read 1,000,001 articles, watch 1,000 videos on it. So end of the day, we're happy she's here, and will be interesting to see when we'll see her back in a Mercury jersey. But someone we did recently just see back in a Suns jersey was Chris Paul after missing, I think, 14 games, was it? Something like that. And kind of a rusty showing, getting their ass kicked by the Celtics last night. Ian, we were watching the highlights a bit before we launched here. What do you think? You were saying that's the game that the Suns should be competitive in and not be getting blown out in.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, that's a game that you want the Phoenix Suns to come out and have their A game at, is against the Celtics. Again, I think, you know, when you're looking at a team that has championship aspirations like the Suns do, you want to look at the top 5 other teams in the league and circle the calendar and say these are the ones we want to win, because it's going to see how we size up against them in the playoffs. And, you know, if last night was any inkling of that, it's, you know, or any if there was any telltale signs from the game last night, they're not good. Like a finals matchup with the Suns and Celtics right now, it's not the best image. I'm not saying they're done completely. It's not like their championship hopes are tarnished, but right now it looks like the Celtics have a game plan against them, and that's not, what you want.
Yeah, Mike, you were watching most of that game, right?
Unfortunately, yes, I was. Same with that Mavericks game. Tough showing, man. This is always a common theme and thread, it seems like, in regards to Arizona sports on national television. Somehow it ends up being a shit show and we make complete boneheads out of ourselves. It is concerning just the way that you come out against the Dallas Mavericks and it gets out of hand early and almost ends up being a 40-point lead for the Mavericks at some point. And then to come out completely flat the next game at home, like, there's obviously a couple of things that are going to have to be addressed. And one of the big things is what's going to happen with Jay Crowder and what kind of pieces are coming into the fold. Because Devin Booker needs another scorer with him. It's not Chris Paul anymore. I know he was out for about a month, but he was already struggling to start this season, and his game itself is starting to change. And Father Time is undefeated. We love to say that, but his shot looks flat. He looks kind of slow. And it wasn't just from last night. It was to start this season. Something's different about him, which is okay. You didn't think he was going to be able to be an all-star forever. He's not built like LeBron James, and LeBron is even starting to take some ticks back. He's playing way less than he has, the past 5 years. But, it's a tough showing for guys like Mikal Bridges to come out and shoot 2 of 12. We needed him to get going early, especially when Devin Booker wasn't making shots. And he just was throwing up whatever he could from the three-point line to start the game and just brick city. I was very disappointed in Monty's substitution patterns to start, because it seemed like he was taking matchups off the floor and then Boston would come and counter right away. Like when they brought in Malcolm Brogdon, that's when they started to go on that run. And then they take out Booker, and that's when they kind of bring in Tatum. And Jaylen Brown was just toying with Torrey Craig all night long. And it's tough when you go down so early, like a 17-2 run in the first part of the second quarter. Where's the timeouts? Where's the stop the bleeding moments from Monty Williams? And Chris, I know you've had a lot of thoughts about that the past couple of months. And I don't want to take up all the tidbits. So, Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you here. But I'm not worried about what's going to happen for the rest of this season. The team is still in second place in the West. But it's more of an eye-opening situation where this is year 3 of a possible championship window, and we know that we don't have the pieces. So I'm going to be very interested to see what James Jones does to bring in a second guy for Devin Booker to score, and if it might mean leveraging some of our bigger pieces to get somebody alongside of him so we can really make a title push, because this team doesn't have it right now, and it's no fault to anybody. No fault to anybody right now. It's just you got to figure things out.
Yeah, I would definitely say that they need help, and that when they gelled perfectly in that first run and then most of last year's run as well. But seeing that they're broken right now, like I still don't have faith in Ayton as a defender or as a member of this lineup. But seeing the Mavs manhandle them again last week and then what happened against the Celtics this week, it's just what's going on? Like we're still missing a big piece in Cam Johnson because of his injury, but we need more help and they need scores, just like you guys said. And I think leveraging whatever we need from a possible Ayton trade coming up here in January, and getting rid of Jay Crowder as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Steven nailed it there. He sounds like every Suns fan. That reminded me of Game 7, just looking at the score and having that feeling of, man, I know we're supposed to be better than this team. We even have a better record than this team even now in this present day. And so I'm with you guys. Like Mike, like you said, not gonna panic. It's nobody's fault. They just got to figure it out. There's some new pieces on this team, so new rotations got to be figured out. Jock Landale was getting heavy minutes earlier on, but now it seems like they've kind of eased off as maybe DeAndre Ayton's coming into his own a little bit more. But I will remain critical of Monty Williams and his ability to have a good rotation with guys, maybe trusting guys, giving them too far of a leash. Torrey Craig being so lazy on defense, especially late in that game. I know it's like you're down on your luck, you're coming off a couple bad games, but if a guy's not out there trying, I know there's a guy at the end of the bench that wants to go out there and try, and they'll at least step out on 3-pointers and read situations better. I watched one play in that Celtics game where there wasn't even a screen set on him and he was rolling with the defender, and it seemed like there was no communication there. Like the guy just came up and curved in. I wish I could pull it up, but it was insane. It was like, Torrey Craig, like, stick with your man. Like, you just gave up on the play without even telling your teammate to switch or anything. I just didn't understand it. So for me, things like that need to be cleaned up, and that starts in practice. That starts with the coach. I know Chris Paul was just coming back, so I don't know if that might have thrown a wrench into how they played and things, but I just wanted to mention this. I was looking at Devin Booker's stats from the last 2 games against the Mavericks and the Celtics. Combined in those 2 games, he was 10 of 30 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3-pointers, only had 28 points. And that's something he could do in one night, typically. I mean, maybe not 10 for 30. That's really bad. That's 33%, but probably, 10 of 18, 10 of 21, I wouldn't put it past him. I don't know, man. I will remain high on the Suns. There's no reason to panic, but these are concerning. I mean, Ian, to your point, these are games, especially on national television, that they need to be winning or at least being competitive in.
Absolutely. I agree. As an outsider looking in, I have a question kind of for all 3 of you, and that's, if it's time to trade Ayton in January, what would a potential return be?
Kevin Durant.
Dude, I'm still in the boat where it's like, I want to have all the hope and to the core of me, deep in my soul, I want this motherfucker to be so good. And he shows the glimpses, but the consistency is so far bearing to the left and right. In year 5, for that to be happening, that is an issue, man. And that doesn't matter if it's in the early season, first quarter, halfway through mark. It's year 5. You know how to be a professional. You know what it takes night in and night out to get the averages. In his 3-game stint where he was great, what is the difference between then and there? I mean, if you look at the Mavs game, he did have the best stat line out of everybody. So I'm not putting it all on him, but the problem with this team is, and it goes back to what Ben said, when they're clicking, they're clicking. When they're not, it compounds and it falls apart fast. When Devin Booker's not hitting, that was one of the big things that we talked about early before the season started, is we needed those younger guys to step up with the scoring punch. So on nights when he shoots 6 of 17, which is going to happen, we don't have anybody with consistency. I mean, Mikal Bridges will have 25 points one night, and then he has 4 the next. I mean, that's out of control. But their defense started falling apart. DeAndre Ayton was getting dumped the ball right into the middle, and all he had to do was literally turn over his left shoulder, and he had one right at the basket. But he decides to put the ball on the ground, and he got stripped multiple times. Like, that's just letting the bad things compound onto you and not playing for the next play and letting things wash out. They just let it soak in, and before you know it, it's a 25-point lead in the second quarter. And you hope that you could leave that last year, because that happened a couple of times in the playoffs. But to have it back-to-back against two of the better teams in the NBA is a cause for concern, and it's rightfully so. And the last thing I'm going to say is there's a reason that Valley guys don't get the respect that they feel like they deserve. It's because they come out on national television and lay a fucking egg, dude. Like, I'm sorry, Devin Booker. I love you, but you can't come out back-to-back performances and then go up against a possible finals matchup and play as bad as you did last night. You just can't have it if you want to be in the MVP conversation. So then you fall out of the top 5 and we're back to where we are, hoping that he just makes an all-star game.
Right. And that's funny that we can stand here and bang on our chests when he's putting up 40 plus a night, looking like the MVP that we know he can be. But it's the same story with the entire team, just the whole consistency. Like look at the bench, look at Campaign. He looked like he looked like he could be all-star reserve almost. He looked like he could, again, we're at the conversation about Campaign. Is he going to be able to take Chris Paul's spot? Is he the next point guard? And now he's kind of taken a step back again. So just overall the consistency. But Ian, not to dodge your question and to be serious, as much as I think I would love to have Kevin Durant. If it was a 1-for-1 KD for Ayton, would be tempting. But there's the age factor. You know, Kevin Durant, I think he's 34.
Yeah, 34.
34. He'll still be around for 6 years or so. So I don't worry about him going anywhere anytime soon. But realistically, I think I would rather we just keep Ayton. I want to see him continue to develop, continue to have his chance. But I mean, at what point, like there's a part of me, there's an itching part of me that's saying, you know, at what point do we stop giving him that luxury? Like Mike said, and I was kind of I'm always taken back when I hear it, but his 5th year in the league now, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, year 5, man, and Devin Booker, you're in year 7 or so. I get young guys, but with a lot of experience now. They've been to the mountaintop. They've been to the motherfucking mountaintop. And yeah, we got killed by the Bucks. Yeah, we got smacked by the Mavs last year, but these guys have experience, so that's not an excuse. So there really, in my mind, isn't an excuse. We got a great head coach who's always in running for coach of the year. We got a great team that was setting franchise records. But it's funny because we set franchise records for both, you know, good and bad reasons. So right now, I'll sit here in the camp of let's keep DA. Let's not trade him at the deadline unless it's a deal that just absolutely blows my socks off. If like the Celtics want to do Jason Tatum for DeAndre Ayton straight up, or I don't even know, Joel Embiid for DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder seems like a fair deal. I don't know, but I don't know. Mike, do you think that Ayton staying is probably the better option?
For what you could get from him, probably, because he's on a max contract and you're leveraged for a long time. So unless teams are really going to try and make him a focal point, like you really got to be taking him on as a thought process. He's going to be a main asset for you. The way that this team has played the past couple of years, I was always under the camp where it's like it can be Chris Paul and Devin Booker. More so Devin Booker taking the scoring brunt. Chris Paul fills in when you need to, but he distributes to all of your other guys and everybody pitches in as they need. I don't know, man. Maybe this team is at the point where you just take 2 like huge scorers and then throw in everybody else with them and see what you get. I'm not saying hemorrhage the farm right now, but like I was always under the impression that you took Ayton and you didn't take Doncic because he was too ball dominant, and to pair him with Devin Booker was going to be a detriment to both of their games, right? But I think superstars and great players figure out a way to coexist, especially if they are guards and they play similar positions. So, I mean, dude, the guy that I love right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I don't know if he really wants to be in Oklahoma City. I would be astounded to see what him and Devin Booker could do matching up on the floor. But they are both so ball dominant, you'd have to really hope for 30 to 35 from each of them a night, and then you hope to see what you could get from Mikal Bridges, maybe 12 points. Is Cam Johnson even going to be around if you have to make that kind of a trade? Because Shai Gilgeous is growing his game, whereas what we were hoping for DeAndre Ayton to do, DeAndre Ayton at the end of the day has been pretty consistent with what he does, but it's not like big enough jumps like some of these other guys have made, like a Ja Morant, you know, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you really are watching the league, DeAndre Ayton has just been a 16-10 guy his whole career. So,
well, that same
know.
argument
That'd
has
be
been
interesting.
put towards about Wiggins as well, as like he was a number 1 draft pick and a bust because he only had 20 and what every single game his first year through now, which he's been in the league for 8-9 years, and he still has always averaged 22 and 7 or something along those lines, where it's like, oh, you are this. And instead of trying to make these players into someone that they're not, or to have that like growth and growth and growth and growth, being like, okay, you just need to be in a system that works for you, like it does in the Lakers right now, and it didn't work in the Timberwolves. Right now, Ayton in this rotation and this system, it's not working. Whether that's a person-to-person issue with him and Monty, or him with other players on the team, or the kind of system we're trying to run where Chris Paul is facilitating and Booker is taking a step back to help facilitate, or also being the number 1 scorer. We need just more variation overall in it. We need more attacks and someone to really lock down the paint.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes we contradict ourselves a little bit too, because we're like, we want consistency. Well, DeAndre Ayton consistently gives you 14 and 7. The problem with that consistency is it needs to fucking be 24 and 13 a fucking night, dude. The guy is just too much of a beast athletically, and he's too young, and now he has the experience for you to not come out every night and do that. I mean, Andre Drummond, when he was in his prime, it was 2020 a night. You blinked and it was that, right? I know he played for a lesser team, but he impacted the game and enforced his will and was where he needed to be from a big man standard. I don't know if it's still he wants to be foo-foo around and shoot his little jumpers and not just like manhandle motherfuckers and move them around like we know he can. Right?
Yeah, he's shown it. And when he's turning and dunking like we always wanted him to, and saying, I was channeling my inner Amari Stoudemire or whatever it was, and then right after that doesn't do it anymore. So it's like, so you can't show us that you're capable and then take it back. And again, like you said, he's making max money. So it's not unfair to have max money player expectations for this guy. 20, 10, whatever. Getting a double-double every night, I think, is a minimum expectation. Maybe get a couple blocks in there every once in a while. I mean, the thing that's been frustrating me with him this season, just at a broad view, is the early foul trouble he keeps finding himself in. And I don't know. It's this problem with the Suns even, because there have been at least 2 memorable games I can remember that they were out. They were out, whatever you want to call it. They free throws wise, they had like maybe 5 attempts and the other team had 20 plus, to where it's like, is that a situation of the refs fucking us, or are the Suns just playing bad defense? And if I had to guess, I'm almost starting to think the Suns might not be playing the greatest defense. But I guess getting late to out on a shot is different than hacking a guy in the lane. Yeah, can't have 4 fouls in the first half. That's how you find your ass riding pine. And we got Bismack Biyombo and Jock Landale doing your job for you. And they're not making max money. Are you going to give those guys your game check because you're a piece of shit getting in foul trouble? I don't think so. I'm sorry, DeAndre Ayton. I just said like 5-10 minutes ago that I'm kind of on your side. So make me proud.
I think this can also go back to the summer, though, with everything that happened with this free agency. I mean, the guys who are running the team are smarter than us. And there's a reason that James Jones and the front office let him go to restricted free agency, and they weren't willing to sign him. They knew they were going to have to eat that contract, because you can't just let a number 1 overall pick walk for nothing. But maybe that's still like the full grand scheme plan, because once you re-sign him, you can't trade him until the trade deadline or after December anyways. But I mean, maybe that was still the thought process, where it's like, he's not really part of the future for this organization. And they have some weird intricate stuff going on in the background. The same reason why Jay Crowder hasn't been traded after already, 25 plus games.
You think there might be like pending
we're-
trade deadline
We're past the
negotiations?
quarter. You never know. You never know.
Well, so Mike, you mentioned Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think that's a tempting prospect. Ian, with your perspective, what do you think of having a 2 ball dominant player backcourt in your point guard and shooting guard? How does that typically end?
Not well. SGA though, I feel like, obviously if he were on the Suns, I feel like he'd be the dude to take the diminished role and dish it to Booker, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would think, yeah.
that could work. I think he's still green enough to be humble and say, all right, I'm not the number one guy on this team. I actually really like SGA as a target if you're going to trade Ayton. I think it works out. I don't know what kind of contract Shea's on, but that would have to match somehow. I think that's really the only snafu with that.
I still feel like it would probably have to be some kind of 3-team trade because Oklahoma City has those freaking, like, they have huge guys all over the place. They don't need another center,
Yeah.
Like they got oh my goodness, Pashkovic. Help me out, guys.
Nailed it.
Who was the guy who was drafted
even
from
know.
Gonzaga who hurt his knee?
Oh, Holmgren? No, Holmgren, right?
Yeah,
No.
they got him. Yeah, Chet
Uh-huh.
Holmgren. And they just have really, really big guys already. So I don't know if Ayton would even really fit within them.
Is it Alexej Pokusevsky?
Pakushevsky.
Oh yeah, I
Christ.
couldn't
He plays like the 2 through 5. I think he's like 6'10", 6'11".
This dude needs a nickname.
But
Yeah, I'm looking on Wiki. He's listed at 7 foot.
I feel like that was one
But
of the
anyway.
worst possible attempts of saying somebody's name of all time. I apologize.
It's not like you were looking at it though.
I wasn't. Yeah. But
I was
So at
reading
least
it right off the
we got to fumble through it, trying to read it phonetically. So we probably still didn't do it much justice. But yeah, it looks
Apparently
like Shea.
Sorry.
for you.
Apparently his nickname is Poku, and that is what I'm going to call
Poku.
him forever.
there you go.
Poku, I like it.
Poku.
You got me curious now, so I'm over here plugging into the trade engine. I think the money almost worked. Actually, yeah, the money is. They have the exact same contract, Shea Gilgeous and DeAndre Ayton. They both signed max extensions. I think from the same draft class, potentially.
That sounds about right.
Except for some reason, Shea Gilgeous is on a 5-year deal and Ayton's only on a 4-year. I guess is that because Shea Gilgeous re-signed
He did the full max, I think.
the full max? Okay, yeah. Whereas we did it the back doorway.
Yeah, but I have to hop off, boys. It was great seeing y'all, and go Devils.
All right, put it all on red, Ben.
See you, Ben.
That was Ben Miller, Valley Sports Plug contributor. We love him. Don't know where you can follow him. He's never shared that information with me. So be on the lookout here then. You got to keep tuning into Valley Sports Plug to get yourself some Ben Miller action. But I'm still here with Mike. I'm still here with Ian. Ian, I think we might be talking Cardinals for a little bit here. Do you still want to stick around, see what else might come up?
I'm down.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
We can do this real quick, Chris. I only have 1 point, but I'll let you go ahead and start with it.
Okay, well, so do we want to talk about the Cardinals more broadly, or I had this pulled up real quick, so I think it might be worth mentioning just super fast is just what the heck is going on with this Patrick Peterson, Kyler Murray beef. Do you know much about this? I know they were like it was on podcasts, right? Like Kyler Murray went on a podcast to respond to a comment that Patrick Peterson had made, and then Patrick Peterson went back on his own podcast and doubled down more or less. What was going on?
Okay. So Patrick Peterson has a podcast with one of his buddies, who actually I believe used to play here. I think it's called All Things Covered. And they were basically kind of talking about the situation with the Cardinals, where they are right now, because good Lord, Patrick Peterson just can't let it go. And he started to talk about kind of Kyler's headspace, and he basically said Kyler Murray only thinks about Kyler Murray. And the only things that I really have to say about this, Chris, and then I'm going to give it back to you and Ian for whatever you guys want to say, is I am going to be very careful with the words that I say, because it can get very ugly, and I'm going to be nice about it.
Okay.
I don't understand how Patrick Peterson is still worried about what's happening with the Arizona Cardinals. And we're talking about a guy who, as soon as we started to go downhill, asked for a trade, then doubled back and came back. Then I think he got injured a little bit. And then that next year was out for 6 games for PED suspension. Talk about a guy who only is worried about himself and not about his team. Okay? So for you to come out and make any kind of comments like that for anybody that's not really in your realm of your team right now, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your opinion about it. I don't care anymore. You know, the thing with Patrick Peterson and Steve Keim still not reaching out to him about it. Dude, what do you want, man? You're gone. It's been 2 years. Get the fuck over it, bro. Stop crying. You look like a little bitch. That's it. I mean, why? Like, why? I understand it's because he can drive coverage more towards his podcast, gets more clicks, more followers, whatever, has something to do when his eventual playing days are over. But his love affair for this franchise, who treated him like a god for almost a decade, and then he felt slighted and takes all of his extra time to try and throw digs at the front office. Now it feels like he's throwing digs at the fan base, and I don't want to see him here ever again. I don't want to see any thoughts about him going into the Ring of Honor. I don't give a fuck about whatever stats he put up while he was here with the Arizona Cardinals. That motherfucker is dead to this fan base and this franchise. And I hope the Vikings freaking go off in flames this year and hopefully play the Eagles in the playoffs and get that ass mollywopped, because I'm tired of having to think about this motherfucker. I've had enough. I've had enough. Like, just go away, dude. We don't care about you anymore.
Right.
We already have our own problems with Kyler Murray yelling at his coach and his teammates themselves. I don't care about what your thought is on a guy that you basically spent half of a season with. You don't know who he really is. You barely know what kind of professional he is now. Don't make your statements, man. Like, I always have a hard time about other guys in the league making other comments about guys that are not on their team that they spend every waking minute with. Because if you want to say something about them, I understand, because you're in the trenches with them. You're there every day. You go through that work together. Sometimes guys need to be put in their place or propped up or put in the light to make sure that they're doing their work because they're battling beside you. I don't need you saying anything about Kyler Murray worrying about himself to help motivate him as a supposed big brother about or like role model or anything like that. I know this is kind of an older topic, but every time that Patrick Peterson comes back into our lives and we have to think about him, the worse and worse it becomes. And he was such a great player for the Cardinals. I want to have some kind of good thought about him at the end of the day, but I just can't anymore. And I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to keep it short, but I'm going to go into Cody's room one day and take that Patrick Peterson jersey and burn it to shreds. So watch out, Tallman.
How does he feel about that? I feel like he wouldn't. He's getting closer to maybe not caring as much the more Patrick keeps doing these things and saying these things. And Mike, I don't think I even need to say too much now because you fucking nailed it, man. Like he's obviously chasing clout to drive traffic to his own podcast. He's clearly a very selfish person. We've seen that before. I mean, man, he had a PED suspension, and then on top of that, he's requesting a trade, and then at a charity golf tournament saying, my bad, sorry, I requested a trade. I actually do want to be here, and then ultimately getting traded or leaving anyway. Like, whatever, Patrick. I'm glad. Good riddance. The Cardinals and the Cardinals fans stopped thinking about you a long time ago, but clearly the Cardinals are still living rent free in your head. And I don't know, whatever's driving him, whether it's like you said, trying to get people to come see his podcast, listen to his podcast, who knows? But fuck that guy. I don't want to see him in the Ring of Honor. I don't, like you said, I don't want to see him associated with the Cardinals or in the Valley again. But we'll have plenty to say, I'm sure, either about Patrick Peterson or the Cardinals. We're already let Cardinals fans be critical of Kyler Murray. We don't need a cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings being critical of our quarterback. Thank you very much.
Exactly. We already have to deal with all this bullshit, for the past 4 months and before the season even started. I don't need to hear it from that guy. Just go deal with whatever you're doing over there in Minnesota. Hopefully you don't freeze your nipples off.
Right. Maybe that's it. Maybe he realized there's not as much golf to be played in Minnesota, especially during the football season. Might actually be better for him, though.
He can't work on his putting game, dude. All the freaking greens are like iced over now,
That's what I'm saying. I can't imagine there's a golf course in the state that's open. Whereas in Arizona, business is booming.
Oh my God, this is the beautiful time of year.
Yes, sir.
I found it entertaining that the quote started with, "I have no beef with Kyler Murray," and then it's just a giant paragraph all about his beef with Kyler Murray. It's just this fucking huge sound off how much he hates Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I didn't want to read through that giant text box and bore everyone who might be tuning in or listening back. But yeah, it basically was just that. It's like, yeah, I didn't mean to talk shit, but let me go ahead and proceed to talk shit.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
and it was just talking about his demeanor, his posture, how when the defense sees him coming off the field all demoralized after throwing a pick, how do you think the defense feels? I mean, he has a lot of valid points in there, but that's something you bring up when you are his teammate in the moment, not years later when you're playing for another team and in a completely different situation. And he's moved on and he's grown and he's gone through even more stuff. It's just asinine in my opinion. But like I said, we'll have plenty more Cardinals talk and maybe some Patrick Peterson hate to spew in coming videos. And I think a podcast coming up soon, right, Mike? The Heat Check podcast, monthly recording's about to happen.
Yes, sir.
But how much you guys got some time left? You guys still got a little time? We get into this more section of the Roundtable Live.
yeah, I'm here as long as you are,
Hell
man.
yeah.
Sweet. Well, since Ian stuck with us through that cards talk, I wanted to ask him about some other breaking news from this week, and that was the contract that Mr. Aaron Judge re-signed with the New York Yankees. I was a little bit surprised. I thought he was going to the Giants, but what is that? About $40 million a year, 360 million total?
Yeah, about that. It was 9 years, 360, I believe.
Whew.
Yes, sir. I'm a little mixed about it, to be honest. Huh?
I was gonna say, how are you feeling about the hometown discount?
Love it. I love that Aaron Judge is back, but at the end of the day, big picture, we just spent $360 million to be the exact same team as last year. So free agency just started for us after we spent all this money.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that part is ass. Like, this is still like, we go against the Astros, we're still going to get swept again, unless you count, the Astros losing Verlander, in which case maybe we'll lose in 6 games instead of 4. Great. It's not really, we still got some shopping to do if we can even. Like, Hal Steinbrenner does not have a track record of being a spender. It was that reputation died with his father. So we will see, man. We still got a long road ahead of us, but I'm happy he's back. I think they're going to make him captain. I don't know if I agree with the timing on that, but I do agree with him being the captain in the long run. Yeah, it's still a victory. I gotta just stop overthinking it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, anyone would be happy to have him. I mean, he's a highly
I mean,
coveted
Yeah.
Mike.
dude, I'm just happy he's not in the freaking with the Giants. We'd have to
Right.
play him all the time. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
And
It
we'd
was
have to see him hitting homers into the Bay every other week.
it was
Probably
Giants
every
and
week.
Padres was the other team too, so I mean there was double jeopardy there for the Diamondbacks.
Did I see breaking
Jeez,
last night
man.
that Xander Bogaerts is going to the Padres?
Yeah, and I can't figure out where the hell they're gonna play him. Like I've looked at the roster, like up and down, and like where the fuck do they need a shortstop? They don't need it. Like it makes no sense to me. They have
Are they going to move Tatis somewhere else? Like, are they going to put him in a outfield corner or something like that?
defensively. I feel like you can't move Tatis. You also can't move Machado from third. You can move Jake Cronenworth and have Xander Bogaerts play second, but I don't know, man. Like I feel like that might be a trade option or something later down the road. I'm not the biggest supporter of playing guys out of position uh, that much. So my thought is Cronenworth is probably the most likely to be benched. But you could also do a rotating infield of having, because National League has the designated hitter now, so you can have maybe Tatis DH, and then you have Bogarts in there. You have Bogarts DHing. You could switch them out. Same with Machado, you can switch them out too, because he's a natural shortstop that's playing third just because his defense is good enough. So there's options, but it's still confusing as hell. I don't understand. Like if I was the Padres, I would have seen Xander Bogaerts on the table and passed on him just because you don't need infield help.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, good for them, I guess. I don't know where they got all this money all of a sudden to be getting
That's what I'm
every
saying.
fucking free agent, but they're doing it. They got to be close to the highest payroll at this point.
Oh, the way that they're shoveling it around, yeah, they got to be getting close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see where the proverbial chips fall at the end of the season. And I know my brother likes to always bring up how the Yankees have such a high payroll, but they're not the only team doing that anymore. I mean, Padres being one of them. I'm pretty sure Boston has a pretty hefty payroll too. The Dodgers, of course, always have a really high bankroll going on. And I think even now the Astros are getting up there in the conversation.
The usual suspects with high payroll are like Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Dodgers. The new ones I would say would be Padres and Astros, but they're definitely getting up there. There's some kind of crazy TV deal where each team is getting an extra 900 million or some shit, like some insane amount of money, or maybe it's 900 mil divided between the teams. There's a lot of money coming into MLB. That's what I'm trying to say. That's going to be a thing coming up soon. So even though Aaron Judge did just break the record for highest per year salary, that's going to be broken next year or the year after that, guaranteed.
Yeah. And it seems like that just seems to be the nature of sports leagues in general these days, where every season it's record breaking contract because of the increased revenue that these leagues are seeing. And I'd love to see that in a way, of course there's only so much in the talent pool, but being able to have more money to work with, I'd love to see the Diamondbacks maybe be contenders and throw a little bit more money out there to maybe get a star player again. Do we even have a star player right now? I mean, for goodness sake, we got rid of Goldie, we got rid of Peralta. I think we got Ketel Marte, I think still, but some young pitchers. We'll ramp up on baseball. I'll have to sharpen up on the roster. Like I said, curious to see where the chips fall there. Ian, I did want to go back just a little bit to talk about the Yankees. You mentioned being the exact same team and that just not getting it done. What pieces do you think they need to make that next step?
It's kind of a tricky answer to that because I feel as though last year that team should have gotten it done. Like there were players on that roster that didn't show up in the playoffs. You had Aaron Judge, who was regular season, he would put up one of the greatest individual seasons ever. And then I think he got one hit in the playoffs after that. And then you have Josh Donaldson, who is a complete shell of himself. There's all kinds of players that just did not show up to the table. A lot of that is going to be fixed with the farm system. There's a lot of top prospects coming up for the Yankees, but after that, they got to figure out their hitting. They might need another starting pitcher because they just lost Jamison Tyone, which on top of that is addition over subtraction because that guy is the luckiest bad pitcher I've ever seen. That's pretty much all you can do. We're going to need a closer on top of that as well. We just lost Chapman. I think if I had to say like positions we need to fill, we need another starter, we need another closer, maybe a third baseman. Outside of that, it's all mental. It's like there's something going on with their playoff performances where they're just getting bodied every single time. They should be winning with the roster they have, to be honest.
It's interesting, like you mentioned that, because I think that's kind of probably how some other New York fans would feel about the Mets. Is it like something like just the pressure of playing in New York City that might just be getting to these guys? It didn't seem.
Yeah, that factors into it for sure. Some people can handle it, some others can't. Like, after that season, there was players complaining that the fans were booing the Yankees, and they're like, "Why are you booing? We won the division. We're in the playoffs." It's like it's because you're like fucking hitting 180 as a team in the playoffs. Like you suck right now. It's all about like. You got to win the last game of the season if you're playing in New York. Otherwise, fans are going to hate you.
Yeah,
And that's across every sport too. It's not just baseball. Like the Knicks, they go through the same thing. Knicks fans are miserable every single year, no matter what they do, because they're not winning the championship.
Yeah, it's always hard to get to the point where a moral victory is an okay end to season. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know with the Suns, I think we took that moral victory when we made it to the finals because we hadn't been there in 30 years, and we had struggled for the past decade and were a terrible, terrible franchise. So to finally get back to the playoffs and actually get that push there, you kind of are happy. But at the same time, it sucks as well because you were up 2-0 and you could see the light at the end of the tunnel and you faltered. So if you don't win that last game, man, you're going to be mad. I mean, you see what the Suns did last year when they got blown out in Game 7. They had to freaking issue a freaking official apology to the fans.
Yeah, they did. It's just with expectations come certain results, and with any fan base, really. It's what have you done for me lately, right? So if you have a great season and then fall apart in the playoffs, fans are going to remember that. Like I think for like Steven highlighted earlier when on this live stream, we were reminded of the Mavs Game 7, and that's going to stick in our mind more than we had the most wins in franchise history that year because we didn't accomplish anything. So you can have the best record, you can win the division, but these professional athletes got to understand it's what have you done for me lately? And I was going to say real quick there, it's like what I think is interesting though, and like me questioning if it's the pressure of the city is that was never a problem during the Jeter years or even before that when they were winning World Series and a competitive team. So like you said, I know baseball is a major mental game. And so maybe Ian, then do you have a tiny squint of optimism that we're bringing back the same team with the right mindset could be competitive?
Because like you bring up Jeter, and that wasn't a problem during the Jeter years. There's even back then there was players that became shells of themselves when they got to New York because they couldn't handle the pressure. And in recent years, we'll call it the Judge era now, players that do the same thing, like Sonny Gray was an ace. He got to New York, he started having a 5.6 ERA. He got out of New York, went to Cincinnati, became an ace again. There's players like that, and it's got to be like 80-20, where like 80% of the players aren't built for it. You have to have the right mentality. The other 20% are your Derek Jeters and your Aaron Judges, and if you have those guys leading the team, you can be in good shape. But they do need a few more like mentally strong players that can basically carry the burden of being the leader of the New York team. I think Garrett Cole is that too. I think he really likes being in New York. But that's it. I think it all comes down to leadership and just being mentally ready to take on a brutal market like that.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I can't say I would disagree in any means. It seems like that's certainly the case where I do remember hearing about stories of guys even during the Jeter era. I'm pretty sure Randy Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't do so great during his time with the Yankees.
Yeah, he was like
He was old though.
mid 40s. Yeah, he should have retired. He should not have been a Yankee. But yeah, there's been all kinds of players like that for sure.
Ian, do you think that anybody has made significant enough moves this offseason to start by signing anybody to kind of start moving the needle away from the shoe-ins who are at the top of the leagues? Like, is Houston still kind of the go-to? Like, has there been any major signings that are getting you intrigued for next year for some teams maybe coming out of the woodwork?
I'm looking at Trey Turner for the Phillies. The Phillies got damn close without him. Having that speed and that contact, man, that's invaluable. There's not a lot of players like him anymore. He deserves the contract he has. He could really be the piece that moves the needle for the Phillies, honestly. And then the Padres keep making these flashy signings, and it's crazy they haven't gotten further than they have. They got beat by the Phillies last year. Maybe Xander Bogaerts is what they need. I don't really think leadership was ever the issue with the Padres, because they've had Manny Machado, who was always kind of a dickhead, but he definitely is a leader of that team. And I think he does a great job at it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Xander Bogaerts, because that could potentially be what makes or breaks the Padres as well. But they seem to have some greater force working against them. Like, they should be a better team than they are season after season with the pieces that they have. I mean, they have an all-star at just about every position player, starting pitcher, relief pitcher. There's someone there that is a household name. So I think those are the two, honestly. Phillies, Padres. That could be a step in the right direction if you're trying to see the end of like an Astros dynasty.
Are you saying we're seeing the start of an Astros dynasty?
No. I mean, they've won two World Series and quite a few pennants. So
No, they won one World Series and then an asterisk.
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and what is the span of that? I mean, that was.
It's got to be 4 years. It honestly hasn't
5.
been that long.
5,
Yeah.
2017.
The Cubs was 6 years ago. So yeah, that sounds right.
And they're the lowly Diamondbacks, just signing bullpen guys. But hey, that's what we said we needed help in. So hopefully our young guys will take steps forward this year.
Yeah. But again, and I guess I got to be his filter because he doesn't seem to want to come on these live streams anymore. But my brother has brought up the point, and very reasonably so, that the owner of the Diamondbacks doesn't want to spend money. Seems like he probably has the means to do so, but just doesn't want to. And it's funny because you have this big arena or ballpark, whatever you want to call it, downtown that can see, I think, like the second or third most people in the league, but yet you have so much empty space, but you can't get asses in seats, where the Diamondbacks are practically giving away tickets. So I'm no business savant or anything, but I would guess that if you invest in your company, or in this case your team, and maybe invest in getting some players to do well, then you'll get asses in those seats. You'll get people buying the tickets, buying the hot dogs, buying the $18 beers, and you'll make a lot of money. But what do I know? I'm just a podcaster.
And not just when the Cubs and the
Yeah.
Dodgers are here,
Yeah.
My goodness.
Have you guys ever been to any other event at Chase Field other than a Diamondbacks game?
You know what? I don't think so. And I know they do concerts, they do monster truck rallies. They used to do the Insight Bowl there as well.
I went one time when Virginia Tech played West Virginia, I think it was.
Yeah, but I don't think I've been to anything but other than a Diamondbacks game there.
Yeah. And there's a lot we can get into the Diamondbacks in the city, because I know there's been talks of either needing that stadium needing serious renovations or getting a new location altogether. I mean, it's funny because I don't really think too much about it because it's just been down there. It hasn't even been down there my whole life, because it was built, I think, it started construction in 97, was finished in 98. But as far as I can remember, it's always been there, especially as the Diamondbacks have existed. It's always been their stadium. But now, you walk through those corridors and the paint's a little faded, some stuff's a little rusty, a little broken. So it does kind of need it. It kind of, like, at a glance, it seems all right, but when you really dive into it, you start hearing about these problems, the roof being unsafe to open with people in the building because they're afraid cables are going to snap and decapitate a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's wild, bro.
That's not good. That's not a good situation.
It blows my mind, man. Like, the stadium I went to when I was a kid was built in 1927 or some shit like that. How does a building built in 1997 need renovations already? The common one I hear is the air conditioner is broken. But
well, yeah, if you want to be all bougie and be building all these crazy things instead of just the damn natural ballpark, that's what you get. That's why all those places back east are still standing strong. I mean, you need renovations here or there, and then in Arizona, you got to run those ACs at all times. So that's just only a matter of time.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it was like a state-of-the-art thing at the time. I don't know if any other MLB stadium was doing a retractable roof in 1998. So, big concept, obviously putting a ballpark in the middle of Arizona when a season is played primarily in the summer, you got to have the AC bump in. So I get it. There's some tech stuff, but now it's outdated because now we're 24, 25 years down the road. But Ian, great point. I mean, there's 100-year-old ballparks in this country that are doing just fine, but maybe not totally fair to compare to a enclosed roof stadium. Maybe that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, the retractable roof is another story. It's other things going wrong with it that it blows my mind. Like, Fenway Park's going strong and all these other ones, and it's like how does a 20-year-old stadium, is it only the roof that needs work, or is it?
I've heard also they have some plumbing issues, I believe. I think that was them.
Yeah. Oy vey.
So I don't know. Random thought while talking about the stadium in that area. Mike and I went to a Suns game a couple weeks ago, and we stopped by the sports book that's down there that doubles as a Guy Fieri's restaurant, or maybe the other way around, a Guy Fieri's restaurant that doubles as a sports book. But have you eaten at any of Guy Fieri's restaurants, Ian?
No, I want to though. Have you?
Twice now, actually. Once in Vegas, and then this place in Phoenix, and both times I was pretty satisfied. I'll say the burger I got was a little weird, and my eyes ended up being bigger than my stomach, but it was still really, really fucking good. And then I got like this pasta dish in Las Vegas, and I destroyed that thing. That was insanely good.
Did you have the he has like the worst named menu item I've ever seen in my life. It's like garbage nachos, dumpster
The trash
fry.
can. Yeah, the trash can nachos. I had those in Vegas. Those
How
are pretty
are
good, actually. They're pretty good. They got like pickled onions. It's wild.
It's like I want them, but I can't bring myself to order it.
Yeah, how you want
Just
some
don't wanna-
$35 nachos or whatever the fuck it was.
I just don't want to say it out loud. I want your trash can nachos.
Yeah, I'll have the trash can nachos. Extra trashy, please.
Yeah. Can you just serve it to me out of a trash can?
Oh man. Well, fellas, what do you think? It's about that time.
Wait, I got one more thing.
So do
I
I.
got
for it.
one more thing.
Bring it.
So Ian says that he needs a point guard.
Yeah.
And apparently Nike said that they don't need your point guard either, Ian.
I
How
meant
do you
fantasy
feel?
basketball.
How do you feel about Nike and Kyrie splitting finally? I mean, the writing was on the wall, but
I'm so beyond trying to justify or defend anything fucking Kyrie does. He's a clown. Like writing this on, I'm just waiting for the contract to expire, man. Like if I'm Nike, I would have done the same goddamn thing. This is so stupid to me. Writing "I am free" on your shoes. I don't know, man. Like that dude.
well, yeah, they officially split. It's officially
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I know. That's his response to it. Is he's wearing. Those aren't fly traps. What the hell are they?
Okay, what even are they? Are they still his? Are they still Nikes?
I think
That would be
those.
funny.
I'm pretty sure those are sixes.
Yeah, they're
Well,
Kyrie.
yeah, no, they are
for
Nikes.
sure.
That's why he taped over it.
Oh, he
Yeah.
taped over it. I see. Okay, okay.
Are there others? There are there sixes or sevens?
I can tell you.
they-
Hang
you
on.
could see this is the actual shoe right here, the ray guns, but
Hmm.
That's it, ray
I don't
guns.
know. I'm happy. I'm sorry. Kyrie's line, honestly, over the past 5-6 years, have been one of the best basketball shoes Nike has made. There's no question about it. You can play it in multiple positions. I mean, it's one of my favorite shoes of the past years, the Kyrie 7s. But now it's opening up the time for the next wave, which it sounds like it's going to be Ja Morant first in the spring of this upcoming year. And then fall is when Devin Booker is supposed to have his shoe come about. So, I haven't watched the Nets that much, Ian. How's Ben Simmons shooting? Is he doing okay?
He's not shooting at all, but he's slowly getting better. I told Chris last time I was here that it's gonna be a process. I think it would be crazy to assume that he'd be returning to what he was with the Sixers, coming back from 18 months of no basketball activity and surgery on top of that. But he's doing well. I think the Nets have won. They've had a crazy week. They went from like 11th place to 4th. Won like 5 of their last 6, something along those lines. But it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the pod with the Suns not beating the Celtics. Like they're not winning those games that you want them to win. Like I don't really give a shit that the Nets can beat up the Hornets. You know what I mean? They're not where they're supposed to be. Like they're not where they would be if any of the three of us were playing as them in 2K. So
Good point.
it's a disappointment no matter what, but if you look at it at a very, very small scale, they are improving, I guess.
How much blame does Joe Harris own?
A little bit, for sure. He had a pretty bad slump for about 2 weeks. He's starting to return to form and come around. He might be a trade piece because we have Patty Mills and Seth Curry, it's kind of redundant having the three of them. So I expect one of the three of them to move, and the front office had come out and said that they're not going to trade Patty Mills due to Australia stuff because Ben Simmons is Australian and so is Sean Marks, the GM.
And so is Ben Simmons, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he has that. I don't know why they need like a ambassador for Australia, but I guess Patty Mills is it.
Maybe that's the only way that Ben Simmons and Sean Marks will meet is if Patty Mills is mediating.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Do they need a translator or some shit? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they all speak English. I don't know.
That's interesting. I'd like Patty Mills on the Spurs as much as I could like a player on the Spurs, but it seems like he hasn't making too much noise on the Nets. I mean, kind of hard when you're being the backup point guard.
Yeah, for sure. And he's streaky too. He's like a shooter point guard guy. He's supposed to be a microwavy type dude, kind of like what the fuck was that European guy's name from years ago? Shit, I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Drazen Petrovic.
I was just gonna start
Not that far back.
Hato Turkoglu.
The original microwave was Vernon Maxwell from the Detroit Pistons.
That's true.
Yeah.
The guy I'm thinking of, I keep wanting to say Mario Batali, but that's a chef. He's not even. Marco Bellinelli.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. He's basically Marco Bellinelli now.
Hey, I'd take that.
Yeah.
He was a microwave. That's actually a really good description of him. He would heat up quick from outside, that's for sure.
Those Europeans, man, they have like a smooth 3-point shot, and they have for a long time. Mike, I did just have to say, because you touched a soft spot for me, the Kyrie 7 is my favorite shoe that I've ever played basketball in personally. I still wear them, once a month probably when I can make it out there. I like the Kyrie 8s. They've grown on me a lot, but just the 7 was like the perfect shoe to me. I wasn't excited at all for the potential 9 though, because the mock-ups I saw of those looked absolutely atrocious, and it seemed like they were trending in the wrong direction. So who knows what the relationship with Kyrie? Maybe we would have had 10 more pairs of Kyrie shoes, but now we don't have to, and we'll get Ja Morant, we'll get Devin Booker. Mike and I have definitely talked about being excited about the Devin Booker shoe, although it'll probably be a low top that I'll roll my ankle in. I'm still gonna buy it. Ian, you said you have one more thing to say. What was up with that?
Yeah, I do. This is totally not sports related, but I just need to get the opinion here. This is a question for both of you. Let's say you're on an airplane, the pilot goes down. Let's say heart attack, drug overdose. Take your pick. He's incapacitated. It's up to you to land the plane. You're being talked through it by air traffic control over a headset. Do you think you could do it?
Yeah,
I think
so. I actually don't. I honestly don't even hesitate to think that I'd be able to figure it out by being talked through. Right?
Yeah.
You have 100% communication with.
If I had to go in there and try to be doing all these flips, making sure which one is the pedals that come out, no, not a goddamn chance. But I feel like I can follow directions pretty decently.
Yeah, hell yeah. I saw a tweet that said all guys believe they could land a plane under that situation. And when I read it, I was like, fuck yeah, I could do that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So now I'm asking everybody I know, like, yo, do you think you could do this? And no one's told me no yet.
I'll land it in the Hudson River too, if you need me to.
Hell yeah.
Dude,
on the Hudson.
That reminded me of a TikTok I saw earlier this week, and I never thought I would say that, but it was one of those crazy situations where it's like, would you rather be in this situation or this situation? I'm not going to tell you about the second situation, but I just want to know if you could do the first situation. It was build in a full Boeing 757, assemble it all by yourself in 5 years with all the parts and the complete instruction manual, step by step, how to build it. The large pieces already being like prefabricated and stuff, but you just have to put it all together. Do you think you could do it in 5 years?
By myself?
By yourself.
Do I have tools? Like, I feel like I would need like an engine lift. And
you have everything you need.
You're gonna have to lift, but then you have to have like, aren't there gonna be parts where you have to weld it? So it's like I have to hold the big ass pieces in place to weld. I don't know. 5 years? I mean, that's a good amount of time.
And it has to be able to fly. It has to be able to fly. That is a long time. 5 years is a long time.
Would getting my welding certificate count against the 5 years?
You have a manual that teaches you how to weld.
5 years. I think I can do it. Everything I need with the instructions and the means to weld. Yeah, I think I can do it in 5 years.
I want to say that I wouldn't do it just because I'd get pissed off and like bored as shit, and then it'd be like the payoff is not enough, unless it's like apocalyptic times and I need to build this airplane to get off of this island because all the natural resources are gone. Like I would just be like, yeah, let's just chalk up this loss. I'll pay the extra $100 for the leg room that I need. You know.
So if there are other hobbies or projects available, you'd be out, right? Like after a year, you're like, nah,
Yeah,
man, I'm
I'd
trying
be
to
like-
break my record on a pogo stick instead of building this plane.
I think
Call up Guinness.
I think the situation was like you have to build it in 5 years or you die. And then because the counter situation was fight a silverback gorilla.
I'm gonna die during that. There's no like you don't need to finish that statement. I have a fight with what, like a knife or
No,
like a
so it was like-
katana sword or something.
It was like
that?
a slightly sharpened spear, or you could choose a empty revolver, and the bullets are scattered around the arena, hidden in different areas. And you're in like a gladiator style arena, so like a bullet would be like buried in the sand somewhere.
Yeah, like where the fuck am I gonna find? Are there clues to where they might
No.
be? Like, is it a
No.
general area that they
Just
notate out for
Could
me?
be anywhere. Could be in like a bird's nest.
Oh, dude, I'm screwed then.
So you're
Just
gonna
give
build
me
the
this-
plane then?
No, just give me the spear. I'll take my chances.
Okay, the
against
spear
that
then.
silverback.
Okay, the spear. Ian, spear in the silverback, gunner in the silverback, or build the plane in 5 years.
I'm taking building the plane because I'm gonna die anyway, and I'm picturing the gorilla like standing around waiting for me to finish building the plane.
Yeah, and then after 5 years, then they release the gorilla on you anyway.
Yeah, year 5, he's on your ass, but like,
Oh my god.
I'll take my chances with
Yeah,
the
I
plane
think
for
I think
sure.
I might try the plane out. I can see
mean,
though, like
it'd be smart to try and build the plane.
right, you have more time, right, instead of just getting it out of the way. But I could see like myself being like 3 months in and not having even put a single piece together, just still trying to get organized and learn what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not 3 months, but I would just be so overwhelmed. Like, where do you start? Do you start in the front? Do you start in the back? Do you start in the middle? I'd probably build the cockpit first, is what I was thinking.
There you go.
But if it's, I don't know, if it's, I'm overthinking this, but if it's step-by-step instructions, like start here, finish here, then maybe that's easier than trying to flip to page 237.
Yeah, in my head, it was all IKEA furniture level difficulty. Like you just sort your screws out and put everything in a nice pile, and then step 1 is build the cockpit or fuselage or whatever, what have you.
Right now, I need to know how long it takes to build a 757. Just
I think one of the problems with that though too, Ian, whereas like doing IKEA furniture, yeah, it's pretty easy because it's laid out for you.
Yeah,
But every time I've done a piece of IKEA furniture where I'm halfway through or like 60% done, I'm like, when the hell is this over, dude? Like
yeah.
that's why I don't think I'd be able to make it the full time frame. I'd just be like, dude, I only did one wing and it took me a year and a half. I don't have the patience for this.
When you're 3 years in and nowhere close, you just start panicking like crazy.
Oh,
like,
God.
well, with a 757 too, right? That's like an Airbus, like a passenger plane. So like you could
Yeah.
probably not put the seats in. You could skip some steps, I'm sure.
As long as it flies, it's all that matters.
Yeah.
yeah. Good question, Ian. I like it. We need to bring more of these hypotheticals to the round table.
That's
Down.
true. That's what this is for, man.
Try to
Right?
end the round table on one.
Yeah, I don't know if that falls under pop culture, but it's the more. It falls under more,
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely more.
and that's what we promise. So, gentlemen, did you have anything else you want to say? Get off your chest, shout outs, self promotions. Ian, let you go first.
I'm all good. I'm have nothing to promote. I'm just chilling. I'll be here on the next one.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to see you again. I'm going to kick you out, but
Yeah.
we'll meet you backstage. Mike, we were live streaming again. I feel like it's been a while.
Chris, I was about to say, I apologize for being late. Work ran a little bit late, but man, it's been too long. There was no way I was going to miss this. So I appreciate you sliding me in there. Nice. Dude, got some really cool stuff coming up for the end of this year. And, to start off 2023, I think we're going to do a Pass the Outlet next week. We're going to dive into what are some of your pickup basketball pet peeves, have some topics to hit on with the Suns and basketball in general. I'm going to be doing a kind of a best of 2023 with some of our favorite clips of the year. We'll put a little nice recap video together. Been having too much fun with our recaps. Obviously, we'll be doing Cardinals until the end of this horrible season is over. And I have a feeling that our next recap for the Suns is going to be like the second one was, right? It was good, bad. We'll see how that continues to go. But dude, it was really good to see you be back here. We'll keep it rolling throughout the end of the year and on to 2023.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, Mike covered it, but we might have a little bit of a odd schedule the next couple of weeks. Don't quite know what the forecast looks like with like just the holidays and everything. But next week for sure, we got Cardinals Monday Night Football. So we'll be getting you a recap on that Tuesday. We'll have Pass the Outlet coming at you. So make sure you're following us on all the social medias. I don't have to plug them again. You know where to find us. But Mike, man, I'm glad to be back. Glad to go into 2023 strong. I'm going to be recharged after the holiday, ready to go, ready to get at it. Our channel's growing. I want to say we're the fastest growing Valley Sports related channel on YouTube. So stay tuning in. Tell all your friends about it. I want to thank Ian again and Ben Miller for joining us this evening. They're great. Always love having them on the round table. So we'll be back for another one here next month or maybe sooner. You never know. But Mike, for Michael Benjamin, for me, I'm Chris Patrick. We will see you guys next time. Peace.